point if my colleague Andrew Markham is here, and if he is, if he could join via video and open his microphone. I guess not. Well, in that case, I will continue with the presentation. So, obviously this is a really exciting time of your life, and you're going to be wanting to think quite carefully about university. One of the things you want to think about is why this university, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. What are the career opportunities, which we're definitely going to talk about, and of course, why this subject and course. And you've got plenty of time to think about this and decide what is right for you. So this is just some colourful slides here introducing St George's at the University of London. We are the only healthcare and science specific university in the UK. So everyone here, staff and students, has a commonality of interest right from the beginning. And people often really value the opportunity to mix with staff and students from all sorts of other courses and get those perspectives. We're based in Tooting, which is a very vibrant and diverse community down in South London, but it has very good transport links with Central London, so it's easy to get into Central London for all the activities offered there. And there's many opportunities for leisure, work and study in Tooting, and you can see over here our halls of residence, which are a short walk away from the university. So we also have a very vibrant social life for students at St George's, and these are just a few snapshots of some of the things that students engage in their time away from their studies. So all sorts of things from sport to music and dance to karaoke, lectures and seminars from outside speakers, many different activities to engage in. And I'd suggest, if you're interested in that, go on our website and have a look at the SU page. We've also got a student life centre who are there to help you with anything to do with life outside your studies, so accommodation, finance and so on and so forth. And then just a little smorgasbord of images from the biomedical science degree. We're a very vibrant and diverse community in biomed science, as we are across the university. And you can see here students at lectures, in the lab, looking at some of their results and various other activities such as posters and writing up lab books, all of things that you'll be engaging with if you start your degree with us. So at this point, I want to hand over to my colleague, Dr. Andrew Leelia, who's going to tell you about career opportunities at St George's.
Hi everyone, welcome to this virtual open day. As my colleague Catherine has said, we're just going to take you through some of the career options that are available to you once you graduate from the programme. Just to reassure you, St George's does very well with regards to graduate prospects, and that's because we have over 95% of our graduates going on into further education or straight into employment. On the biomedical science programme, there are lots of career options available to you. So it's a non-vocational degree, and that means that there is no clear-cut career progression. However, there are numerous options and you're really spoilt for choice. So this is just a flavour of just a few of the career paths available. So you can continue in science, either entering scientific research, clinical research, biotechnology, or in the pharmaceutical industry. You can move away from the bench and work more towards scientific policy, grant funding, intellectual property, and there are also lots of options in non-science roles such as law and finance. On the top right of this slide, you can see that our students also continue in further or higher education. So we have a good proportion of students that continue either taking a master's degree or even higher, a PhD. And there are also some very specific healthcare courses that our students head off to, including medicine and dentistry. So this is just an example of some of the students that have gone on to very distinct career paths. And that's just quite, a small number of students that have gone on to do non-science roles, but also within science communication we have Nathan, and as you can see there, teaching roles. Emily went off to become a teacher on the Teach First Leadership Programme. Fawzia is a reviews assistant at a publishing house, and Kalani is now a qualified lawyer. In addition to the roles that students go on to pursue from the 3-year programme, the 4-year programme also has much higher level skill sets which allow you to go off and undertake PhDs, and our current alumni are in Cambridge, they are at UCL, in very prestigious and competitive places there. And we also have students again from the 4-year programme that end up in more specific areas, so graduate recruitment schemes, clinical trials assistants, etc. So whilst you are on the programme, there are lots of resources that are going to help support you with your career thinking. We're the only programme that has a lead for employability, and that's myself. And in addition to that, lots of online resources. This is a snapshot from our careers page on Canvas. It has year-specific career information. We have numerous careers events, careers fairs, summer festivals, and you can also book one-to-one tailored career support. The good news is once you've graduated, that support will continue for life. So I'm just going to hand you back now to Catherine, who is going to tell you more about the programme itself.
So hello again, everybody. And yes, I'll be giving you some more information about our biomedical sciences courses. So we've got 2 courses, the first of which is our 3-year BSc honours degree. And this is really studying what is the scientific basics of human health. So we're trying to understand what are the mechanisms, the biological mechanisms that underpin health and disease. And this includes the basic science and, excuse me, also investigating, improving diagnosis and translation into treatment. As I've said, St George's is a healthcare university which is closely integrated with the hospital site that we share. In your final year of the BSc, you can select a specialised pathway, which will allow you to choose courses in your final year that reflect your emerging scientific interests, and these will be reflected in the degree title that you graduate with. You've also got the option to transfer to the 4-year MSci degree, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And as Andrew mentioned, there's lots of careers advice and support embedded into our teaching, and you've got the opportunity to gain professional experience during an optional professional training year and summer placements, which may take place either at home or abroad. So our MSci is more research focused, particularly in years 3 and 4, and it's a continuous integrated 4-year programme that's aimed at students who are thinking about research sectors in their onward careers. So you share 2 years with the BSc programme, and then in years 3 and 4 you have bespoke research skills modules and an extensive research project. And so that means that you will have greater research skills and practical experience than the 3-year degree. And this means that this degree is more competitive if you're thinking about PhD study after your degree or research posts in various different sectors. It is eligible for 4 years of student loans at undergraduate rates, and you can transfer to and from the MSci to and from the BSc at the end of year 2. If you're transferring in, you're going to need a 60% average grade. And again, there's the opportunity for final year study abroad, where you can choose to undertake your final year project in a lab abroad. So just a word about transferable skills. Obviously, you're going to be learning lots of science knowledge, understanding, critical evaluation and things like that. But just by doing this degree, you're going to get a huge number of transferable skills which employers value very, very highly. And these are things like communications, teamwork, problem solving, leadership, digital literacy, and so forth. And we know that employers are very keen on these skills. And so we run a skills and recognition award module, which showcases your skills and allows you to easily show on your CV the transferable skills that you've gained. So just a quick word about some of our facilities. We have a library which is open 24/7 with lots of computer stations for individual work, also some small pods for small group work, lots of access to electronic and physical resources in the library, for example, textbooks for particular modules. We've got a variety of teaching spaces, from large group teaching to small seminars. We have a museum of human disease where you can go and enhance your learning by interacting with the different human specimens down there. We've got lots of research specific teaching spaces, which are, well, not so much teaching spaces, but research specific spaces with our professional labs, which you'll be embedded into in your 3rd year project. And we've also got specific teaching labs, which you'll be working in years 1 and 2. So just a few sort of numbers to help guide you. We have a 30-week academic year, and there's about 40 hours of work per week on this course, with about 14 to 18 hours of face-to-face contact teaching per week. We've got a blended learning approach at the moment, and at the moment around 3 days per week is on site with face-to-face activities, and we do deliberately plan activities so that you have a full day on site and then 2 days where you're doing more self-directed learning at home. In tutorials, we've got small groups, and you'll work, you know, in a group of about 8 to 12. In the anatomy suite, activities similar size groups. In practical classes, you're often working in pairs. The whole cohort is sort of can be up to 250 students. So in lectures, there may be a larger number of people, and of course you'll be working as an individual throughout your time here, but particularly in your final year project. So just a little note here that St George's has been rated silver for its teaching excellence, and that according to the students, the staff are good at explaining things, they find the course interesting, and it's easy to explore ideas and concepts and bring together information from different topics. So just a quick overview of what you do in each year. So in year 1, you've got 6 modules. You'll do fundamentals of the living cell, so basic cell and molecular biology, fundamentals of pharmacology and physiology, where we are looking at how drugs impact organ physiology, and fundamentals of pathology, which is starting to think about disease processes. We've got anatomy, which is fairly clear what that's about, understanding body structures, and physiology, understanding how cells and tissues come together as organs and work in the body environment. And we also have this module called Personal and Academic Skills, which runs throughout the whole year, and it's where we help you gain skills that are relevant to the other modules. So this is where, for example, you'll do some data analysis, you'll practice your scientific writing skills, and it's also where we embed the teaching for careers that we've mentioned before. In year 2, you move on and you do some more detailed anatomy and physiology, building on what you've done in year 1. And you also do 3 new modules, microbiology and immunology, molecular basis of disease, which is again understanding the mechanisms that lead to breakdowns of different of health in different scenarios. So, for example, infectious disease, cancer, congenital disease, and so forth. And we've also got genomics, where you start to understand how genetics impacts human health. We have personal and academic skills again here. And here in year 2, it's slightly different. You do a couple of big set pieces of work. One is working in a small group, so gaining group working skills to develop a poster which you present. And then in the second semester of year 2, you write an extended essay on a scientific topic. In year 3, you have the choice of pathways, which we've mentioned before. And this is a list of some of the things that we have offered or do currently offer, although it can vary somewhat. And depending on which pathway you choose, you'll usually do a number of different modules within that pathway. A couple of 30 credit modules and a 15 credit module, exploring different areas of that particular topic. So, for example, in cell and molecular biology, you do biology of cancer, cell and molecular biology, and genes and gene expression. And you will graduate with a degree title that reflects your pathway. So if you've chosen anatomy, for example, you will graduate with a degree in biomedical science with anatomy. In addition to your modules for the BSc, you also do a 45 credit research project, where we help you choose a project from a list that's provided by our professional research teams at St George's, and you'll be embedded into those labs working on a real life research question, which you will then write up as a dissertation and have a viva on at the end of the year. And you can see here just some of the examples of the sort of data. So these are examples from students who've done projects with me and some of the sort of data that they've got. So here we've got pictures of staining in zebrafish embryos, we've got PCR, and we've got some modelling of diseased and normal hearts. For the MSci, it's slightly different. So in year 3, you will choose a pathway, but there's 4 to choose from rather than the other number for the BSc. But you also do 3 bespoke modules, which are all about research skills. So biomedical research techniques, which is focused around understanding scientific literature and also thinking about drug development and screening. We've got experimental design and data analysis, which is pretty much what it says. So thinking about how we design experiments and appropriate types of analysis for the data we get. And the structured research project allows you to practice lab techniques and then apply them in a short project. In year 4, this is essentially your research year, and you do a very large project of 105 credits, which runs across the whole academic year, in which you are embedded into a lab. And here you can see one of our students undertaking her project from one of our previous years. And you'll be, again, answering a real life research question in a professional setting. And this can be either here at St George's, potentially at another UK university, or abroad. Alongside that, we have a research proposal, which helps you understand how research works, what is research culture, how do we start doing research, and it really helps you take ownership of your project. And in addition to this, we have various bespoke career sessions and scientific visits to various different places of interest. So I'm going to hand over to Andrea again to talk about the PTY.
Thank you, Kath. So we, between years 2 and 3 on the 3-year programme, also offer you the opportunity to undertake a professional training year. And a PTY is essentially a year in a professional work setting, either in industry or in an academic research environment, but essentially is going to give you the opportunity to develop key skills over that year-long placement that will help strengthen your CVs and boost your employability. So this is an optional but integrated part of the degree. It can be up to 12 months and it takes place between years 2 and your final year, and can also be taken abroad as part of the Turing scheme. So that's a 7 to 8 month placement. We also have ring-fence placements, and these are also in very specialised research environments. So you can see here some examples of where our students have undertaken their PTYs. So we've got some big pharmaceuticals here: MSD, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, GSK, Pfizer. But we also have more academic settings and research environments, either within healthcare or, as you can see at the bottom, at Great Ormond Street Hospital Charity. So just moving on. This is some example of our PTY students from the last few years. And you can see that we have a selection of students that do decide to take their placements abroad, either in Spain or Denmark is a recent addition. Lots of placements in academic environments within King's and Imperial, and again the big pharmaceuticals: Pfizer, GSK, Cancer Research UK, and also within healthcare. So those PTYs abroad can be worldwide, and so there's an opportunity not only from the PTY, but also if you're undertaking your year 4 MSci project or a summer placement, to do that abroad. And we've got lots of relationships with Barcelona and Grenada and Rabud. So I'm just going to hand back now to Kath, who will tell you about the entry requirements.
Hi, so yes, our entry requirements for A-level, we're asking for BBC with Bs in biology and chemistry. GCSE, 5 subjects, including maths, English language and science. We're also accepting international baccalaureates, so 14 points at higher level, minimum grade 5 in biology and chemistry, and standard level, a minimum score of 5 must be attained in maths and English. We also take access diplomas and a number of other UK and international qualifications, and you can see the details on our website for that. So finally, just a sort of summary. This is a unique biomedical science course in a specialist science environment. There's flexibility and focus in year 3 of the BSc with the selection of a specialised pathway, and you do an intensive final year research project with professional research groups. Lots of different learning development integrated into the curriculum, and you develop a whole range of skills in lots of different ways, including practicals, lectures, self-directed learning and research projects. Through the Turing scheme, there's the opportunity to travel abroad and work abroad during PTY or for the final year of the MSci, and there's also the opportunity for summer placements. We've got careers, advice and support embedded into the teaching, and as I just mentioned, the opportunity to get that work experience during the PTY, and we have excellent onward progression to employment and further study. So I am going to stop sharing my screen there, and hopefully you can see me now. And here is Andrew, who's joined us. Welcome, Andrew. And I might move over so that Andrew can pop in next to me. So we have our student Nicolina here as well. So I think Nicolina is now going to talk about her experience as a student for 5 minutes or so, and then we will be open for Q&A. So if you have questions, then please just pop your questions in the chat, and then we'll be able to answer them when we get to the Q&A. So I guess me and Andrew will stop our videos and mute now so that Nicolina can have the screen all to herself. So see you shortly.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me okay. I hope I'm not mute or anything. So my name is Nicolina and I am a second year biomedical science student. And I also commute. I live at home. I unfortunately don't really have much of an experience in terms of the Horton halls. However, I'm very happy to share anything else with you. So I think I'll just start off with that. Essentially, when I was starting St. George's, actually the commute was the main thing that was kind of putting me off. And I must say that it's actually not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I live in North London, and obviously St. George's is in South London. So I actually, in my first year, I had to take the whole Northern Line to get to uni, which actually wasn't really a problem because the professors are very understanding and wary of, all the students coming from different parts of London. So actually this year, I haven't had a single class that started at 9 a.m. So usually my lessons do start at like 10 or 11 perhaps. So that's not a problem at all. So I do get enough sleep, don't worry about that. And next thing I want to talk about is the workload, which you might be worried about. When I was starting, I was kind of stressed about the things that I've heard from other people in terms of writing so many essays with biomed. People were saying like, oh, we do an essay every single week, and I was very stressed about it. But actually, that's completely untrue. And I'd say the workload is very much tailored to you, specifically in terms of your situation and circumstances. And what I mean by this is that actually, if you are someone who is able to put more time into your studies, for example, because you don't have a job or you don't have other commitments, then you actually can do things like book the anatomy suite all for yourself outside of kind of class hours. And you can make a complete use out of the library because it's open 24/7. And other things, for example, at the end of every lecture, there is actually a quiz attached to it, which is completely optional for you if you do have the time to complete this. And we always get a list of further reading that you can also engage in. So if you do have more time on your sleeve, then you can, do so much more beyond the lectures. However, if you are someone who perhaps wants to have a job alongside your studies, or for example, you do an external club or something, that's completely fine as well. In my first year, I was actually attending 2 classes of French outside of uni as well as dancing, and I was completely fine with balancing that with my job as a student ambassador and also my studies. So I'd say that the main thing that I really like about St. George's is that actually, like the people have mentioned earlier, we do have a blended approach. However, every single on-site lecture is recorded. Our professors are very kind. So if you do have a situation where you can't come in for a lecture and you really don't want to miss it, then you can catch up very quickly because it's all recorded and you don't have to stress about that. So for example, if you do have a job and you can't make it to one of your classes, that's not really a problem either. I would say the one crucial thing that you do have to attend are the laboratory sessions, which are once or twice a week. So it really depends on, the week and the module that we're speaking about, but usually it's going to be 1 or 2. And also, I'd like to mention the immense support that we get throughout the course, which I was actually really surprised by recently. I actually am trying to get into a PTY placement right now, which is going to happen next year. And honestly, I didn't really expect the staff to be so caring about it. I literally get emails from my professors asking me how I'm doing, how my progression's going, whether they can help me with anything. And also the communication with all professors is great too. If you ever have any questions, if you email them, they'll probably reply right away. I haven't really had any experience of not being able to contact someone when I needed them. And for example, even with doing ICAs, if you are really, really struggling, then you can, come in and see someone on site or pop an email as well, and you will get a response right away. So I'd say the level of support is really up there. So you don't really have to stress about that. And when it comes to student life, St. George's is a very vibrant place, I must say so. Actually, the freshers week, we had 2 weeks when I was starting, was probably the best 2 weeks that I've had at uni so far. And also, the nice thing about every single week that we do, every Wednesday is actually a shorter day to allow everyone to essentially go back to their societies and meet up with them. So every single Wednesday, we have this thing called Circles, which takes place in the Student Union Bar. So if you've seen St. George's or if you've been to a tour or something, you'll know what I'm talking about. And essentially, it's a time for all the societies to meet up with themselves and play games and, just socialize. So that happens every single week. And other than that, we do things like karaoke nights. There's actually the Tooting Show auditions happening very soon, where you can essentially apply to do a dance performance or a singing one or an acting one. So there's always something happening, I'd say. And yeah, honestly, with the Freshers Week as well, we did have a boat party, which was very fun, and I actually got to meet a lot of my friends in that time too. So I'd say don't worry about not being in central London because it doesn't really affect your student life because there's so much happening within the uni itself. And in terms of the PTY, also, I'd like to add, it is quite a lot of work. However, like I said, with our course, it's very tailored to you. So I personally find that I do have enough time to balance all of the applications that I'm doing with sort of the different projects and the in-course assessments that I have. Because other than the things that you do have to, upload in time with a certain time frame, you are still able to do it later on. For example, like I said, the lectures, you are able to catch up on them if you do have something that's crucial to you that you need to do beforehand. So don't stress about that at all. And I can elaborate on any of these aspects that I've mentioned in the Q&A if you guys have any questions. But yeah, so I think we are actually running low on time. So should we do the Q&A session or do we still have some time? How are we with everything?
So I guess, yes, we'll start the Q&A. I can only see one question at the moment, which I guess I'll address.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we can do is just have a bit of discussion back and forth, maybe we'll ask you a few questions about your experience.
I was just cautious of time.
Yeah. So. So we can just sort of have a bit of a chat, and people can pop questions in the chat as perhaps as things occur to them. And if we do close this stream and you've got questions, you can always go to the science chat on the main page and pop a question in there, and we'll try to get an answer to you. So somebody has asked about applying for BSc Biomedical Science with a foundation year. We don't offer biomedical science with a foundation year at the moment. It is the BSc or the MSci. So in this respect, I would reach out to our admissions team with the qualifications that you're applying for, and see if you're going to be eligible for applying to our degree. And if there are extenuating circumstances, those are things that you can mention when you make an application. And admissions do look at extenuating circumstances and potentially take these things into account. So while we wait for any further questions, I guess something that I wanted to ask you about, Nicolina, and partly because I meant to mention it in my presentation but didn't, is the personal tutor system.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes, so I'll take over and explain what that is. So actually, every few weeks or so, we have a meeting with a personal tutor who's basically a person who's assigned to you to essentially mentor you throughout your journey in St. George's. And there are a couple of them which are compulsory. However, they are very open to meeting with you outside of those hours too if you need any support on anything. So I've actually talked to my tutor recently also about the PTY applications, and she was so kind and she said that, if I want some more practice in terms of interviews and things like that, she can also help me to do that. So I'd say if you have any concerns, then they are someone that you can reach out to if you do need to talk about anything. And yeah, I've honestly really had a positive experience. Like, I can't really say a bad word about them. I've had the same tutor since year 1 up until year 2 now, and I'm assuming that's not going to change until year 3. So yeah, we've had time to build that relationship and trust. So yeah, that's a great thing that I can say. And we do actually see a question: is biomedical science linked to a society?
So I'm going to hand
So
that one over to Andrew.
Yeah, so Fala has asked, is biomedical science linked to a society like the Institution of Biomedical Science? So that link is called accreditation. So we are not accredited by the IBMS. So in that respect, we are very similar to the biomedical science courses at Imperial and at King's. Accreditation is primarily for students that want to head off in a specific career direction. Our program is very much tailored to students who want to keep lots of options open. In the past 10 years, very few of our students had wanted to go into the IBMS lab system. So from our perspective, we have lots of career paths available to you. And there's lots of support to help you get to those once you graduate. So I hope that's answered your question, Fala.
So while we wait to see if anyone else is adding some questions, I think I might bring Andrew in here, and perhaps between you and Nicolina, you can talk a little bit about studying anatomy as a biomedical scientist.
Yeah. Hi there. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Grant. Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm one of the anatomy lecturers at St George's. So we teach anatomy as part of the courses. So primarily in second year or third year, if they take the anatomy route, we do that. We also run some of the projects that you do in your third year. Quite a few of them are based in anatomy. So, for example, I've just been with some students who are making 3D models of some of our specimens using photogrammetry, which is pretty neat. And hopefully we'll be doing some 3D printing from them. So, yeah, we teach throughout the course, particularly, and if you go down the anatomy route in third year, we teach there. So we teach we have a fully licensed in terms of the Human Tissue Act, so we teach with human remains. And we also teach with the Museum of Human Diseases, which is a pathology museum that I think Catherine mentioned. So going through, we cover the entire. We teach with a regional approach. We go through the entire body by the end of the 3 years. So I myself, I'm running the part of the anatomy teaching that's on the GI tract. Yeah, it's we also have what's really neat. In addition to the human remains we teach with, we have we have 3 anatomage tables that we've just got last year, and we're using. So these are, if you ever use something like Complete Anatomy or like a 3D anatomy model, these are similar to that, but instead it's if you imagine a giant laid out table, like basically the size of like a surgical table or something. It's a 3D model of that size. It's a huge old touchscreen, and it is using people who've donated the body. So they donated the body, and then very, very small slices were taken of them, and they are then made into a 3D model. Yeah, it's a particularly cool piece of teaching technology that we have now, and we're having students having a great time using it. And if you have, are students here potentially coming to the in-person open day?
I think the in-person one was a little bit earlier this year. So
right, so you may have seen them in the
in-person one, although I believe that there would be another one coming up sort of towards the end of the year. But...
So we've had another question that sort of links to the previous question. So I'm going to ask Andrula to discuss that again.
Thank you, Kath. So Fala, essentially, we do loads of practicals within the lab research environments, and so accredited degrees mean if you graduate with an accredited degree, you can become a registered biomed scientist who would work in an NHS lab. So that would involve things like processing patient samples, urine, blood. It's quite regimented. You would be responsible for running the machinery, the equipment. That's very different to the research set up in an academic lab. So on a non-accredited program like ours, you would be encouraged to learn to critically analyze data, to answer research questions. So it's more about being curious. If you don't graduate with an IBMS accredited degree and you definitely want to go down the NHS route, then you would have to take additional modules. Okay, the IBMS accredited route, I have to flag out, the career progression is not great, and that was another reason why a lot of our students don't go down that route. There are many exciting opportunities for you in labs, but not necessarily just processing samples. So I hope that's helped answer your question.
If it
So
helps,
I think,
sorry.
I
was going to say the biomed degree I did myself, it wasn't at St George's, but it also wasn't accredited. I've worked in quite a few labs, and none of them have. It hasn't hampered my career prospects at all. Because again, I haven't wanted to work in an NHS lab where you spend, frankly, most of your time looking at blood.
Andrew, thank you for that. And also, actually, you can still work in the NHS in a lab environment with a non-accredited degree. You could do the scientist training program, which would allow you to specialize in a specific area. And that is something that our students have gone on to do. So you can still work within those environments, but on a much higher salary.
So did you have something to add? Yeah.
Sorry, I would also like to add one more thing to the anatomy section. I briefly mentioned this before when I was speaking, but I was kind of wary of time. So essentially, if you are someone who is very stressed about, for example, speaking in front of a lot of people, and you don't necessarily want to ask many questions, in front of your whole cohort, basically in the class, then you can book the anatomy suite to essentially come in and have a look at the models by yourself. And you can also use the anatomosh tables by yourself with a supervisor too, which is great for more of a personalized approach. So I think it's a great opportunity that you should definitely consider. And also to add to the not really the PTY, but the opportunities provided, which I don't think have been mentioned before. So at the end of year 2, actually you can apply for this in December of year 2. We do have a studentship that you can essentially take part in. So if you do want to have some more lab experience that you haven't had before, you can do this within the university, within one of our staff, within one of the host labs that we have within the uni, which is also a great opportunity. Just thought I would put it out.
So I guess to finish off, I might ask, we've only got a minute or so left, but I might ask Nicolina, just in 3 words, to sum up your St George's experience so far. I'm sorry, I put you on the spot here. But...
I think it's hard to summarize something like this in 3 words, because it's such a huge part of your life and it's so important as well for your growth and everything. But I'd say that it's been challenging in a way, but not in a negative way. More so like putting me out of my comfort zone in terms of the presenting that I've had to do, or for example, the writing that I've had to do. So I'd say challenging in a way. I'd also say exciting. And I'd say kind of unpredictable, because you never know what's going to happen to you personally. Like, for example, I used to want to go into medicine, and now I am literally not even considering it anymore because of this course that I happened to join after I had been rejected from med schools. So now I'm looking at so many different career options, for example, pharmaceutical companies, for example, research laboratories that I would have never considered before. So I'd say definitely unpredictable and unexpected.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Andrew and Andrula as well. If you do have more questions, please pop them into the science chat section. And thank you all very much for attending, and you can find further information on our website. Thanks very much. Have a good evening.